I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of horror. And no, not because I'm a bitch, okay? I'm not. I'm a big boy who isn't scared of the dark and plays Five Nights at Freddy's like I'm Stonewall Jackson. But I don't like horror mainly because most of it is just boring. I might jump from a jump scare when watching Smile 2, but it's because the movie is rupturing my eardrums, not because I'm, really scared. This goes the same way with horror games, and I think the biggest failure a horror game can have is when I'm completely taken out of the horror aspect and my sole focus is just getting on through the game. This happens with almost any horror game I've ever played, whether it be, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 or really any Resident Evil. These games might scare me here and there, but never is there a layer of atmosphere in these games where I'm biting my fingernails. And then there's Silent Hill 2. I played Silent Hill 2 because I saw a video about it through fans going through and remastering it to be the best possible version of play. I had heard of the game before, but that was only because of the, horrible HD remaster. But the game looked really interesting to me. Something about the look of the characters and the scenery kind of drew me in. And once I played it, man, did it have an effect on me. Silent Hill 2 is my favorite game of all time, purely for the way the game is able to make the player feel while playing it. It holds nothing back and is unforgiving when it comes to player comfort. I had genuine moments where I had to stop playing the game because of how scared I was, which has never happened before with any game I've ever played. Again, I'm fucking Stonewall Jackson. This game will also make you sit down and be like, damn, what the hell did I just play? And I think this is for 4 main reasons, with the first being Silent Hill 2 is a glorified walking simulator. I mean, the game is boring as fuck to play. Like, fuck this game, it's ass, I hate it actually. All you do is walk around and interact with every single inch of every single surface, hoping you find a clue to what you're supposed to be doing, but you probably won't. What you will find maybe is some ammo, which you'll spend on taking 1 or 2 monsters out, which now means you don't have enough ammo to take out a boss, which could mean that you have to restart hours of progress and walk even more. Puzzles in the game you need a doctor to understand, even on standard difficulty. Reading this shit makes me wish I was playing with young Sheldon on my right, so he could tell my bitch ass what the fuck to do with this random snake battalion I just found. But this is all topped by the actual scariest thing in the game. The fucking camera. This piece of shit fights you the entire game. You want to look down a hallway? Too bad, here's James' face to look at instead. You fucking moron. Also, there's tank control, so I would be like trying to turn around because while you fiddle around with your controller, maybe your tank mate could load a shell into the tank of a character you control and just blast this stupid fucking game into pieces. Playing Silent Hill 2 is really a love-hate relationship. Its controls are frustrating and the game is really just walking around. But that's kind of the freaking point. The game knows exactly what it wants to be and doesn't try to strive off with like a fishing minigame or a dodge roll. The puzzles in the game are confusing, and I'd be lying if I said I never used a guide once or twice, especially when this fucking hangman puzzle showed up. But looking at the puzzles closer, you see how they relate back to the story and James himself and come to appreciate the answers and the questions the puzzles ask. The camera and tank controls are definitely annoying to fight when trying to run past monsters, but I honestly like the choice of frustrating controls more because it is scarier. Entering a hallway and just hearing an enemy screech and contort while the loud static of the radio plays and having to try to quickly turn the camera around so you can see it really does induce panic in me. Same with tank controls. Trying to run away from an enemy but having to turn around first makes for those really tense moments. I also think in terms of handling enemies in the game, I think there's an amount of depth in player choice. When you see an enemy in the hallway, you can either kill it, which means you'll have less ammo that is already sparsely found, or you can run past it and risk taking a hit. All of these things just add to the horror and atmosphere of Silent Hill 2, and while it might not be as fun as a game to play as something like Resident Evil 4, look at this game and tell me if anything is supposed to be fun about it. Silent Hill 2 has this dreamlike haze to its world that hooks you and keeps you entranced the entire game. The fog in the game is like a character in itself with how much personality it gives to the town. Walls of building interiors are covered with this PS2 grime and muck that just can't be replicated, giving this feeling of disgust no other games can create in decrepit environments. I think the uncanny look to all the characters really shows in the cutscenes. The fact everyone looks like they are made out of clay and barely resemble humans just adds to the creepiness the game is going for. I won't lie, I think this is where Silent Hill 2 shines the most. The sounds in this game are disgusting. The music, the voice acting, and the sound effects, all of it revolting. The Silent Hill 2 soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, just because of how it's used in-game and how weird and uncomfortable the tracks make you feel. It's also a very diverse soundtrack, so you'll have disturbing ambient tracks with Blank Fairy, and and then this emotional grunge rock theme with Theme of Laura. The sound effects in this game and how they are used are just genius. It's fucking awesome. Whether it be the sounds of monsters where you can hear them contort and moan in pain, the sounds of bullets thunking off the metal of Pyramid Head, the sound bites of James whispering or crying to himself that is a chance to play. Or the static of the radio that lets the player associate the sound with danger being nearby, which just naturally elicits a fear response in the brain, which is just so insanely cool. All these sound effects just make the game so much scarier and really do a lot for the atmosphere of the game. The voice acting in the game gets dogged on a lot.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Which is fair enough in some parts. But it's similar to the game's gameplay in that it's almost meant to sound unnatural and uncomfortable. I think it also adds a lot to the characters of the game and is very telling of each one's mental state as the game progresses.
It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it. Mama, why are you running away? You're not my mama.
Also, even though there's a lot of funny moments with the voice acting in this game, the performances at times are some of the rawest acting in the best way possible.
Do I look like your girlfriend?
No, my late wife. I can't believe it. You could be her twin. Your face, your voice, just your hair and clothes are different.
My name is Maria. I don't look like a ghost, do I?
It's hot as hell in here.
You see it too. For me, it's always like this.
It doesn't matter who I am. I'm here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Mary's final letter to James that she reads at the end of the game is one of the most emotional performances I've ever seen.
James, you made me happy.
When I'm playing a game, rarely do I care about the story. There are a few exceptions, of course, but I'm a man who's not afraid to skip a cutscene here or there just because, like, damn, I don't give a fucking shit about what's going on with Zora Magdaros. However, that was not the case with Silent Hill 2. I think Silent Hill 2's story is really something special. It's a story of the most uncomfortable and depressing emotions humans face. Guilt, trauma, and depression are all at the forefront here and presented by immensely interesting characters and woven into this dreamlike, disturbing town that shifts and mutates over time as the story delves deeper and deeper into its rabbit hole. James, the protagonist, represents denial and guilt as he learns about his late wife's fate and being completely mortified with what he's done, ending his own life as atonement.
The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
James, if that were true, then why do you look so sad?
Angela represents childhood trauma and depression, and while one of the only characters to do nothing wrong to anyone, burns in literal hell due to the actions of others inflicted upon her.
For me, it's always like this.
Eddie represents paranoia and shame, being insecure about his looks and habits to the point where it drives him to kill and eventually is the cause of his death.
Besides, he was making fun of me with his eyes, like that other one.
Just for that, you killed him?
What do you mean, just for that?
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
Oh yeah? Why not? Till now I always let people walk all over me.
Maria, being a representation of the wife James wanted while Mary was sick, is a much more raunchier and more mysterious Mary, but ultimately shares the same fate as her, only being a physical embodiment of James' desires, made to disturb him even more.
It doesn't matter who I am. I'm here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Laura represents innocence and the future Mary and James could have had if not for Mary's illness, another reminder for James to remember his sins. And while maybe not entirely a character in a story sense, Pyramid Head, the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner of James Sunderland. Completely manifested by James just to punish himself for his sins, which of course means this is the only Silent Hill game where Pyramid Head appears, right? I also love how the story progresses. The main theme of the game is the descent into madness, and that is never displayed better than in this game. James just starts as an average disturbed Joe who got a creepy letter from his dead wife and must explore an old foggy town in hopes of finding her. And by the end, slowly and methodically, the game drops hints of what James did and reflects this by having Silent Hill itself mutate into a bottomless pit that nearing the end of the game just becomes a confusing labyrinth, where James drops down into random and never-ending holes, where the rooms and hallways make no feasible sense as to their location or sense of space. The game's canon ending, the in-water ending, has James ending his own life as he realizes he can't live without Mary and makes the ultimate atonement for what he has done. Of course, this isn't the only ending for Silent Hill 2. There are 5 more endings, some showing alternative paths James takes at the end of the game. Like James finding a semblance of peace after finding out what he did to Mary and being able to leave Silent Hill with Laura, starting a new chapter in his life, like Mary wanted. And in what really should have been the canon ending, James discovers a dog was actually controlling Silent Hill, and this was just a big prank in hopes of getting a big bag of pepperoni sticks. Overall, my true favorite thing about Silent Hill 2 is how all its parts, gameplay, visuals, sound, and story all interact with one another. It's like the perfect symphony when these aspects of the game come together and make for moments like these. And when it comes to the remake, I actually really like what they did with many parts of the game and how they modernized into an actual enjoyable game to play. I think there are even moments in the Silent Hill 2 remake that I actually like more than the original Silent Hill 2, which I could make a whole other video on.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill.
Overall, do I think Silent Hill 2 is the best game ever made? No. But it does something that games and movies released these days can rarely do, and that's make you feel something.
Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you.
So, suck it, Freddy. Your movie fucking sucked.